Hi guys, welcome to another episode of my knitting podcast. This is going to be a quick episode, I hope. I'm trying to film before the light is going away for this Sunday. I've been also filming a what I knit in a weekend kind of day, in a relaxed, no other plans kind of day, and I will be wrapping that up as well soon. But I thought I'd come on here and talk a bit about my progress on my project, as there is some to talk about. So let's get on with this episode. I first will be talking about my finished objects, of which there are two, or rather three, because actually socks are like two finished objects, like two in one. I finished my second Hermione's everyday sock, and so I can't wait to wear them. This is the second one. It's still in the blocker. I finished it yesterday and then soaked it and then put it on the blocker and on the radiator, which I found to be a great way of getting it dry quickly. And so this is the sock, and I'm really happy to report that my socks are getting so neat. And yeah, so there are two socks now, and I can't wait to wear them. These were made with the Phoebe and Mercy dried flowers sock. I think it's a high twisted sock base that she's carrying in her shop online. I will be linking all of those, like these informations, down below, and I'll put in my Ravelry how much I used for this. I think it's used about, rounding up, it was about 80, or rather a bit less. I think 70 grams of the 100 gram skein that I use for this. So I will be able to use the remaining 30 grams for either the maybe highlights, like the contrast colors of another set of socks, or I'm going to put some into my scrappy blanket, which I'll also show you again in this episode. So this is my this is my first finished object, whatever. I'm really happy with them. I really like the texture. I'm really happy that I've graduated from knitting vanilla socks. And yeah, I really enjoy the colorway and can't wait to wear them. Also, I've knitted them on a 2.5 millimeter needle. I think the pattern called for 2.25. The pattern is also a free pattern on Ravelry, and that is something that I've learned from Chelsea. She recommended them to me. I'm just going to take them off the blocker. I'll also link the blockers in the description box down below, as I've gotten the question quite a lot from people where I got them, and I'm actually really happy with them. They are quite thin, and I've got a set of blockers ranging from a EU size, I think 36 to a 46, which is kind of like the standard adult feet sizes, I guess. And so I can use them for sock knitting for gifts as well as for myself. And I'm using the 38-39 one. And here they are again without the blocker. I think it's so nice. They look so neat, and I'm really happy with them. Again, I hope that I'm not seeming as if I want to speed through this episode today, but I've realized I have a tendency to babble on and ramble a bit, and I'm just trying to keep this one short and sweet. We'll see if it is anywhere near the 30-minute mark, or if it rather goes up to the 50 or 60-minute. I don't know yet. We'll see. Magically, I was able to finish the lento, my second lento as well. I didn't really hit the motivation to work on it since finishing. I don't even know where the frustration with this project came from. I've just had the feeling of it being a bit small from Not from the very beginning, obviously, because I would have changed something then, but yeah, interchanging the hangs as to not get any pooling was something that I was quite wary of. And also, I think I might have just made a gift knit without realizing, which on one hand is quite nice, as I wanted to do some of those this year, but also it's quite sad because I wanted the yarn for myself as well. But like I said, I will put all my scraps into my project, into my blanket project, and so I'll have the yarn in a way for myself. And with this sweater, I haven't decided yet fully, because I think the recipient is yet a bit small for this. But yeah, let me show you before I babble on about it anymore. It's been blocked and it's ultra soft. It's so nice. Here it is. But yeah, as you can see, it is quite small. I've made a size 3, and like I said in the past, judging from my bust circumference, I tend to go for size 4, although some of the patterns might be created differently, and so it's not always the right size to go for, but usually I tend to go for size 4. And when I knitted this in the khaki, the first lento that I did in size 3, it turned out okay. It's a raglan fit and it's tighter like I usually go for. I usually go for oversized. I usually go for a large size 4, which gives me a bit more room, depending on the positive ease, obviously, but I like shirts to be a bit more oversized, as I did realize some time ago that I'm not as small busted as I thought I was. Do you know what I mean? It's like I always thought of myself being not like having not a large over like bust, but actually in reality and like measuring myself, I am in the mid sizes, in the mid sections of sizes. And so I don't particularly like the look of something being very close fitted and therefore enhancing my bust to look big. I can't really explain it very well, but with this, the bigger gauge and the like open stitches, which I mean, it's beautiful. Looking at it, it's beautiful, but then it gets stretched around my, let's say it gets stretched around my boobs, right? So it does just look a bit too small. And with the khaki one that had alpaca in it as well, I don't know what happened. Maybe I just knitted the body and the sleeves a bit longer. It still fits, and because it is in a darker color, it's not as showing. I really can't explain it very well, but it just doesn't make me feel as exposed. So I don't have a problem with like wearing shirts or t-shirts or tops. I just don't want it to be enhancing my bust too much. And with this, when I look at it, it just screams child sweater to me. And I don't know why. It's probably just the ratio of like looking at it. I hung it up on my wardrobe right next to my Monday sweater, which is also a raglan in a lightly speckled hand-dyed colorway. And when I looked at the two of them, I was like, okay, yeah, that one is and I'm like pointing at in my head at the Monday sweater by Petite Knit that I did. That is like a human women's sized sweater, at least like in comparison to me. And the other one, this one is more of like a 10-year-old's sweater. And that is just, I don't know, I've not checked gauge. I've definitely not knitted the thing to what the pattern called for. So this is not a critique to the pattern in any way. it's just a reminder to myself that just because a pattern says that it's going to be quick and it is not going to use a lot of yarn, that doesn't mean that I should be knitting it. That's just the way it is, because I've had over 100 grams of yarn, of the hand-dyed yarn left. I know that I've like moved on too quickly with this, so I bound off the body too quick. I moved on to the ribbing too quick. It's just something I wanted to get this done, and therefore it didn't reach its full potential, I guess. I could have made this work, but also when putting it on, it's not giving as much joy as most of my other projects that I've knitted, and it doesn't make me feel confident, like, for example, my Judy sweater does. And so I wanted to make some handmade knits for my 3 little cousins. I have, on my mother's side, I have quite a big family, but I have the most contact and the most close bond with my 3 smallest cousins. They're, I think, I'm like children in age, like they turn older every year, and sometimes I can't even remember my age, so it's difficult to remember theirs. But the smallest one was born 4 months ago. The middle child is around 5, and the oldest one is around 8, I think. And so because I wanted to make something for each of them, I feel quite bad like giving or moving or like handing out stuff that I wanted to make for myself, and that is just not reached its full potential and just not something that I would be wearing, like would wear. But also I've done this with my first sweater. I gave it to my mum after it was hanging in my wardrobe for like 1.5 years, not being worn because it just didn't fit me. It was just too small, and my mum's more petite than I am, and when I gave it to her, it was so special for her to receive something handmade. It didn't really make a difference that I had initially made it for myself or had planned to make it for myself. And every time she wears it with so much pride, like joy. She's so proud of it being handmade by her daughter. So I don't think it doesn't really make a difference, right? If I've made this for myself and then just like realize it would suit someone else better than me. But with this, I think it might be a bit big for the oldest one of my youngest cousins. But also she's going to eventually the only thing that is certain is that she will grow. So, right, it's someday it'll fit her. And I particularly personally, I love children and oversized clothes, but I mean, it's not for me to decide what they can wear. I've contacted my aunt about it, and I asked her whether if she could measure the kids for me so I could decide what to make for them. And so I will be holding on to this. Her birthday is in September, and so I think she'll be 9 then, 9 years old. But I'm not a good aunt. No, I feel like an aunt to them because they are actually so small, and I'm getting close to 30. But also they are my cousins, I'm not their aunt. I would love to make something for all of them this year, and I have some plans for my youngest cousin because it's her. I'm just mixing in some planning into my finished objects. I hope that is okay, and some hand cream as well because I have sun allergy on my hands again. Wow, full of information today. But yeah, I'm planning to knit a little bonnet for my, I hope that's the right word for describing this little hat that is fastened with a tie with a bow underneath her little face, because it's going to be her christening, this church thing in a couple of months. And I'm not usually going to church myself, but for my family, if they have a special day, I will go there and support them and be there for them. And so I thought that in like a white color, I'm pretty certain that I should have enough left over from another one of my current projects. So I will be making her this little bonnet, and also maybe make some little baby socks, because they should be quite fast, right? So I don't know what I'll make for my second cousin. Like I said, he's a 5-year-old. Don't really know. Should be something that would be easily washable, so something super wash would be best, I think. But this, coming back to my finished object, this should be machine washable. This is made in the Woolly Chicken handmade all-rounder base, I think it's called, in the color Birchwood, which, like I said, I really, really loved. I think the like brownie, beigey, orangey speckles are just miraculous, and they're so, so nice. But also I'm going to love seeing this on her, and like I said, she'll be able to roll up the sleeves, and in a couple of years it will fit her perfectly, and then someday it won't fit her anymore, and that is just life, right? The other thing that is in here is the I think it's Kremke Wool's. It's the fluffy base. I don't recall anymore. It's a solid, I think it's mohair, or maybe it's Surrey alpaca. I don't know what it is anymore, but you should be able to wash this on a cold cycle in the machine. And so that I thought was something that was quite important for people with children, especially with 3 children, to be able to use the washing machine for their parents, so they didn't have to like hand wash these items. One thing that I wanted to mention that didn't go to plan, and that is something that had frustrated me before finishing this project, but now that it's finished and I'm holding it in my hands, and I think that I've reached a decision for like 99% to gift this to her, which is making me so happy, like thinking about that and not feeling the frustration anymore, and like being a bit angry with myself of making like poor decisions when it came to the length, and maybe I should have sized up from the get-go, and all of those things, they just go away when I think of giving this to her, because I know she's seen my grandma receive a Sophie scarf and my mom receive a Sophie scarf for Christmas, and my aunt was like, oh, what does one have to do to receive such a beautiful scarf? So I know my aunt would be really like happy to receive something, and for her I haven't yet come to a conclusion what I'll make for her, but I'll definitely be making something for her. I just don't want gift knitting to be or become something that is of any kind of like pressure, and feeling like giving something that I've originally made for myself but haven't then used or worn and then gifted. This is still like beautiful contents, like really special, like high quality, I wanted to say ingredients, but I'm not baking, so but like this fabric is like really special. It's like hand dyed, and I've put so many hours of work into this. So at this point I've like at this point I'm clearly just like trying to make myself feel better about this, and that it's okay to gift something like that. But yeah, it just makes me feel really happy thinking about that. The one thing that I wanted to talk about, and that I find with this and other raglan patterns to be a bit difficult, is, and I'm just going to show you now, this is the underarm section. And with this pattern, and I wasn't happy about this, but it's pretty standard to pick up X amount of stitches. But with this, that just didn't come close to cutting it. How do I describe this? Had I picked up the amount of stitches that were called for in the pattern, I would have ended up with like huge holes on each side. And usually, especially for like petite knits patterns, I pick up 2 more stitches, 4 tops. Like with the April cardigan, I've been picking up 2 more stitches on each side, and that is like the most amount of stitches I had to pick up for any other raglan construction to like omit the holes, right? With this pattern, I'm pretty sure I had to pick up like 6 stitches plus on either side, so like 12 extra stitches. And that's how this like really weird shape came about, because I obviously, that's what I always do, is like pick up the extra stitches and then decrease them immediately in the following rows before starting my decrease repeat, which is then like shaping the arm. This doesn't have a, I like stop decreasing here, and this is quite like the same width for that matter, but I did decrease some of the stitches. But here I just like picked up 12 more stitches and then had to decrease them immediately, which just left the underarm looking a bit weird. It just looks like this is like a breathing hole for your armpits. I don't know. And it's the same on both sides. Like, I'm going to show you the other side. I don't know if I've done a better job on the other side, but it's still the same thing. And it just looks a bit weird, doesn't it? I don't know. So this is my second lento. Like I said, there are a lot of things to say about this. And I hope that it came across that this was just a bit of a frustrating project, and in the end I'm very much in love with the outcome. It's just not my size. And I'll check the gauge and I'll put it in the Ravelry project page, and I'm sure to give you all of the information that you'll need, but at the end of the day, I just think this is going to be one of the very special gift knits that I'll make this year, and that my cousin hopefully will grow into. And like I said, I'll speak back with her mom about it, but she did say that was something that I'd left when I was speaking about my family, that she said that would be so nice to have something handmade when she saw my grandma receive her scarf at Christmas. So I know, or I think I know, that she would really enjoy getting this, and I'll give you one last glance at it and then I'll move on. So yeah, I might put in a label. I got a few labels by Petite Knit, and I might put one in that says made by someone who loves you, or something like that. I think that would be cute. So moving on to my works in progress, of which there are 3 at the moment, I will start by showing you my April cardigan, on which I've made quite a good amount of progress. So this is my April cardigan. Let's see how best to hold it up so I can show you. There are in fact 2 sleeves. It'll be easier to show you when I've finished the whole thing and like be able to put it on and take some pictures of it. I'll show you the yarn though in a close-up. This is in the beautiful Brooklyn Tweed in Loft in the colorway Fossil, and the Explorer Knits and Fibers Alpaca Surrey. Is it Alpaca Surrey Silk? I think so. In Petrichor. And I've done the yoke. I've done both sleeves when I did do about 15 centimeters of the body after splitting for the sleeves. I finished my second skein of the loft and then moved on to the arms. And so conveniently, I did have one full skein of both of the yarns left for the body. which I'll try to make do with. And then I have about this much left for the button band, which I'm a bit, I don't know, but I'm a bit scared of making the button band. So I'm a bit scared of making do with this much yarn left, and I'll see if I can finish the body with some of the full skeins left. I'm pretty sure that the sari will be enough for the button band, but I've never made a button band before. I've never made a cardigan before, for that matter, so I'm a bit scared of the yarn running out, because there'd be no good way of, I don't know, getting enough yarn. Like, where would I get it from? I would have to wait till the summer and maybe try and get some in the States when I'm there, like visiting Chelsea. I think with the Brooklyn tweed that would be doable, but I don't know if, I mean, yeah, like I said, the Brooklyn would be the problem, so we'll wait and see. I'm actually trying to film making my first cardigan video as well with the cardigan, the April cardigan by Petite Knit, and I'm not sure if the format is going well. I'll let you be the judge of that, so we'll see if that ever sees the light of day. I'm just, at the moment, I do have so many ideas for other video formats, but just not enough time to execute them, and so I'm just a bit like nervous to do it, try it, touch it, and then maybe it not going well and me losing that time that usually would be like free time for me otherwise. But yeah, another project that I've been talking about in the video that I've done today on showing you how much progress I'm making in a day of knitting is on this test knit for Coco Amore Knitwear on the Brighton Sea, and I'll show you now. This is how far I've come. I've actually just shown you the back side, but so the back side just has one more stripe, which is made during the German short rows. And yeah, I've come to a point where I'm like, I'm happy with the length. I'm quite wary of cropping things since my Farnham tee. I was a bit overly eager to crop it, and now it's too short, and I'll have to go back in and do some operating on it and open it back up and add some length, which I've decided on doing. I was able to get out the makeup stains on my Farnham tee collar, but the length I'll have to tackle in another day. So I'm taking out one of the stripes. There is X amount of stripes required for my size, and I'm doing one less. I've talked to the designer about it and it's fine. Like I said, I usually wear bottoms, I think, yeah, that are a bit higher waisted, and so I thought this, because it's wool, I wasn't sure how it would look like tucked in and draped into my trousers, and so I thought it'd be a great, like a good length. Now that I'm holding it up like this, quite like high up, it's already touching my legs, and I'll have to add 3 centimeters of ribbing to it now, and I'll do that, and then I'll have the body finished, which this is taking my time. It's easy to knit on while watching TV. Last night I did watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians and knit on it, and I don't really have to look at it. It's, by this point, it's really mindless for me doing stockinette in the round, and I did read about, I don't know, 130 pages of my current book, and listened to a whole audiobook today, for that matter. I just finished Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine today, which I thought was a really fantastic book, and was knitting on this the whole time. But this is taking a lot of hours. This is on 3mm needles. The ribbing, in fact, is on 2.5mm needles, which I've never done a garment before in that small size needles. But I think it's going to give this finished object, hopefully by next episode this will be finished, a really like polished look, and something that I'll really cherish having in my wardrobe. Is kind of like a very elevated and special short-sleeved top option. And yeah, I'll see how the wool will like work in warmer weather. I find myself today actually quite hot in the weather, although it was only like 15 degrees. But yeah, hopefully it doesn't get too hot too fast now. I wanted spring to come, but also I didn't want to, I mean, who likes sweating, right? And yeah, so I had to free up my needles, the 2.5mm ones, of my second sock, to be able to do the ribbing on this t-shirt. Like I said, Brighton Sea for Coco Amore knitwear, and that is actually the amount of knitting I have done today. I'm trying to hold the darker green as like a float. I hope you're able to see this between the color changes and the stripes, but I've been cutting the lighter color green just because I've come to like realize that it's a bit difficult to have 3 strands and them not tangling in my project bag, so I've just done it like that. But that way I'll only have to weave in the light green ends on the back side of these stripes, so they won't be visible, hopefully, on the front side. And yeah, I'm quite happy with that. I think that was actually a great way of practicing holding like, or taking or keeping floats. I don't actually know how it's called, but it's something that now I've practiced and not like tugging at them too tightly. I'm left with this amount of the Knitting for Olive Merino in Cloud, which had made me like believe that I could use this for the bonnet, which will be a perfect white for the christening at the church for my cousin, I guess, because I think that should be enough for the like rest of the ribbing for the body, and then the sleeves, which I'm also thinking about whether I'm going to shorten them a bit. It requires about this much from where the sleeves are now, which I like a bit of a longer sleeve, but with the stripes going on, I'm thinking about maybe shortening them a bit. And I asked the designer and she said that adjustments like that would be okay. And now for the other 2 colors, this is how much I've got left of them. I've got about, I think, 4 skeins of this left, so if this doesn't cut it, which I think it will, it's just like really, I mean, the circumference will be a lot smaller, so I won't need as much. But this is really good. I was at some point a bit scared that I'd be running out of this, and I don't even know what like kind of yarn this is. I think there is either some acrylic or alpaca or something in this, because it's a lot more like fluffy than the merino, the non-superwash merino. So this is Sandnes Garn Sunday, and the other one was the Knitting for Olive Merino, which have about of like a really similar gauge or length or meterage. You know what I'm getting at. And with this, I've just like, I was guessing, right? So they look pretty similar. Maybe this is a bit more like fluffy, which makes it look or appear a bit bigger, but honestly, it's not been a problem in the project. And so I'm really happy with this so far. I'm interested to see whether this will actually be something that I can wear in the summer, because it's made out of pretty much 100% or close to 100% of wool. But yeah, if I'm not going to be able, I'll wear it with something like a long sleeve t-shirt underneath, maybe for spring and like the colder days in spring and autumn. Yeah, so trying to hustle through this so I can have dinner with my partner who just came home and is a bit ravenous after like his soccer game, football game. I haven't decided which one I like more of the two. I'm going to show you my last work in progress, which is only going to be making an appearance in the podcasts when I've actually done some active work on it. I've cast this on some time ago, but then haven't worked on it a lot in the meantime. But now I've put in some more rows and I wanted to show you. This is my Cozy Comfort blanket by A Homespun House. This is how it is looking. This is the right side and this is the wrong side. I've actually made a mistake right in the middle where I did do some stockinette there. Was just probably a bit mindless, like thinking about my April cardigan where I do need to purl the wrong side. And when I did this and like realized I've done it, I was like, oh no, I want this to be a mindless and like a fun project that I just can like pick up whenever all my other projects are at a point where they would like need some like me thinking about them a bit more. And so it was just like, I just want this to be a comforting, scrappy, using up all of my beautiful hand-dyed leftovers, such as, and put them in here in this blanket. And so, yeah, that's what I'm doing. And if there's going to be some mistakes in it, that's okay. I might do some eyelet ridges in it as well. So I'm mostly garter stitching it, and with the, I think 5mm needles and the fingering yarn held double. Or if I'm using some DK yarn, for example, this one, I've made my hipster hat by Petite Knit with, I will be just holding that single. And with that as well, I'm trying to put all of the details that are necessary to know or interesting to know in my Ravelry project. And speaking about scrappy things, just one plan that I wanted to talk about, then I'll have one acquisition and then I'll be done for today. One plan that I wanted to talk about, and I know it's only April. Why do we need to talk about Advents, you ask? I know the knitting online community is full of Advent calendars already, which I hadn't known a year or two from now, like in the past, because I didn't know much about like hand-dyed yarns and indie dyers and all that thing. But when I realized that getting a yarn Advent calendar last like Advent season, I was really intrigued by the idea and I liked the look of them. But I also realized that I heard or I saw that they were quite expensive, which is totally like realizing how much effort and work goes into them, so that the prices are probably quite reasonable. But also I wanted to make something like that myself. And so I made up in my mind this idea of making one for a friend with some of the yarns that I had left from projects as well. Because even though I'm like doing my scrappy blanket, I only need 10 grams for 4 garter ridges, or 2 garter ridges and 4 rows, which I'm usually doing 4 rows, 2 garter ridges. I've just put in a bit of a thicker, like 3 garter ridges of the brown one, just because, like I said, when I made the mistake, I realized that I actually wanted to have the look of it like being like changing up and not being uniform, not being uniform throughout the whole thing. But even still, I will be left with yarn left over. of most of my superwash hand-dyed yarn skeins, which like sock yarns that I'm using for this project. So I thought to myself, because I'd seen other like YouTubers / podcasters do this in like a group of people, I'd be able to gift this to a friend. And I sometimes do keep things like that to myself because I like to surprise other people. I love gifting gifts and like being creative with gifts for my friends. But sometimes I've realized that it's better to talk about things like that, because in the end, you might be like able to not surprise, but like, and not like benefit, but like by making the other person this gift and them being able to also make a gift to you, it being a process that you do together and not me just doing it on my own. I don't really know how to explain this better, but I talked to my friend about it, who I thought about doing this with, and she's like, that is a fantastic idea, I want to do it now. And she's like already thinking about so many things that she would be able to do. And so we decided on doing it this year, and honestly I'm so happy about it. Like I'm happy that I spoke about my idea and not just kept it to myself, thinking that I might be like able to surprise her with it, because this way now we'll be able to like give this joy to each other. And like, yeah, so we'll be doing either a 12 or 24 day advent calendar, and obviously I'm already starting now, like making plans, putting yarn to the side and like putting it in Ziploc bags and planning for it. I also have an idea for, we said that we could like maybe enter a full skein of yarn for like the 24th day, or in some countries the 25th, which for us in Germany it's not the 25th, it's the 24th. Yeah, our advent calendars usually only go to 24th of December, and I'm usually the person that makes advent calendars for other people. Last year I made one for my partner and my mum, and a couple of years back my partner and I made interchanged advent calendars as well. And so I like the idea. I like how it makes this time a bit more cozy even, and I can't wait to put the skeins or the like leftover hangs, I don't know, like yarn that she's going to give to me into my scrappy blanket and my cozy comfort blanket, which then is also kind of going to be a memories blanket, because I'm going to put in all of the scraps from the project that I had worked up and made for myself or gifted to other people. And like I said in like a video, in a situation a couple of videos back, I had also bought some mini hangs from Berlin, and so there will be all of the memories in this blanket, and I can't wait to at one point in the future finish it and put it on our couch. And so moving on to the last thing that I wanted to talk about today, which is my next cast on, my next anticipated cast on. Like I said, I do need to do another test knit, but I will finish my tee first before casting that on, because I will need the same needles for that. And I've broken a couple of 3mm needles recently, so that'll be a one at a time thing. But my one and only acquisition today is also going to be the foundation of my next cast on, and I can't wait to show you. I'm going to put them here like that. This is my Wooldreamers Mota in the colorway, I think it's 246. Yeah, 246, and it's a beautiful rusty red color. This is 100% lana merina manchega. Lana merina entrefina y manchega. I'm probably butchering that, I'm sorry. So I think it is 100% manchega wool. This was comparable to the Filcolana Peruvian Highland wool, which was one of the yarns that Rebecca, I didn't even tell you what pattern I wanted to make with this. So this is going to become a Corran cardigan. And Rebecca, in her pattern, which I bought on the weekend that it launched, she had recommended if you wanted to make a woolly version of this lace cardigan, that you could use, I think it was the Peruvian Highland wool. And I did actually like some of the colors of that. But actually this yarn, I know it is different in the US. I think I've seen online that it costs around 18 euros or 18 dollars for one of these like 100 gram skeins, but it's only 8 euros. So it's less than half of the price in euros, which is that because of Spain? Is Manchega actually from Spain? Let's hope I'm not mistaken. Like, let's hope I'm right. But that is actually in the EU, and shipping to the US is making this so much more expensive. I don't know, but I wanted to work with Wooldreamers yarn for some time. Got some fiber on my lips there. I'm planning on doing something with the unspun yarn that is the Manchalopes from them. I've mentioned that in like a video, I think half a year ago, on cardigans that I want to make. The Traveler's Cardigan by Ozetta is made with this. And Ozetta, I think, is a big fan of this yarn. And I think she actually just came out with a collection of yarns with them as well, if I'm not mistaken. And so, yeah, all of those things are not relevant to my current cardigan, but like I said, I can't wait to use these. When I spoke about Rebecca's version, the like bright orange one, I did for some reason say rust or like deep brown, deep orange version, which obviously was a mistake on my side, but I was already thinking about that. So that is the explanation for my saying that her version was a rusty color, because that was my vision for my one, which was very much inspired by her bright orange one. And I don't know why, like this pattern didn't spoke to me when I first saw it, which made me like question myself, because I love all of her patterns usually naturally, but this one I wasn't sure about before I saw all of the testers versions and like all of Rebecca's versions that she had done. And for some reason I was like, I need that in my life. And now I'm letting it enter my life and enter my needles, or like bring it on my needles. I will be casting on this tonight, Sunday night. And yeah, with that being said, I hope I've mentioned most of the things that I wanted to say. Probably forgot a few of the things. I'll try and link everything in the description box down below, and hope that yeah, like did I forget something? Probably, right? Okay, that being said, I hope you're all staying healthy, and I wish you happy knitting. Come back next time. Subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you next time. Bye.